Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome to MOCA'S world. So after seeing one of my earlier creations, a good friend of mine has ordered 32 decoupage tea light holders. So I'm going to use jars of this size. It's about 250 grams, about a cup size. And I've been collecting them for quite a while because she let me know about it some time back. To clean the jar, I put some in the dishwasher, and others I just put in a pot of hot water to get all the labels off. And in preparation to do the decoupaging, I've selected these napkins with these motifs on there. I plan to tear out all of the motifs that I'm going to use using the feathering method. So that's essentially just using your hand to tear them, which allows the edges to be more feathered, so it's not such a stark look, and it blends better into the background of the paint that I'm going to use on here. I'm also going to try to match the paint as best as I can, depending on the motif. So in this case, I would use like a gray. It may not be as dark as this, but something that blends well with the background here. It could even be beige. It may work well with beige. I'll just have to see when the time comes. So these are the patterns, and I'll have to spend some time really just isolating whichever motifs I'm going to use. This is another one. Here's another one of my older favorites. Some of these I've used in other projects for myself, and some I have not, because she's going to be gifting the candle holders now as we get into springtime soon. That was the idea, to select more springtime type motifs. This one is also really pretty, but essentially they're for any time of year really, and the recipients, I'm sure, will be happy with them because they're not expecting them. So and also they'll be just really cute to use around the home. So those are the ones I'm going with. I do have some that I've already used, so I'm going to just start by isolating some of the images here, and it's really simple. You can look at some of my other decoupage videos, and essentially you're just going to tear the edges here as close as possible. You can also wet the edge there and it comes off a little bit easier, but I don't mind it dry as well. Sometimes I use a paintbrush and just drag it along the path, and it just tears really easily, but you still have to be very careful. In this case, it's not that difficult, and the images aren't on top of each other or joined. So I might do the watering method for the ones that are really closer, like some of these where I might want to separate this bunch here from that bunch and so on. But the idea is to isolate the images very carefully, because it's very easy to tear because we're working with napkins here after all. And then after you isolate the image, let's see here. And I'm leaving a little bit of the area around. I don't want it just stark. So, but again, if you can, I don't know if you can see how feathered the edges look there. So that will allow it to blend better into the background when I do paint that. That'll be a whole nother phase. I'll probably spend a day or so, or as needed. I have to cover this jar with chalk paint. I have to mix up the chalk paint, put it on there. I'm going to put one layer of chalk paint on there. Then they have to dry completely before I apply the napkins on there. I'm going to remove the back layer. So we're only using the very top layer. So this one is a 3-ply, I believe. Let's see, I'm not sure. So we want only the very, very, very top layer. So I took off one layer. So this is the top layer here. Be very careful while doing this because it could tear. but the idea is to remove it and have only the top layer left. And then, as I said, I will be applying this on here and putting some more finishing touches on there. So you can join me through that process. So today my goal is really just to isolate images. Like in this case, this is a hydrangea. So I'll be spending as much time as needed to isolate images to put on 32 of these. And each one, depending on the design itself, may get multiple images. Like this one would be on the front, but it definitely would need something else. So I'll have other smaller pieces of this on the back. So it will be a big project, and I have a few weeks to complete it. So yeah, I'll take you along on the journey. So again, my goal today is just to isolate the images, get all of those done, and then I'll start on painting the jars. So that will be the next phase of the project. So stay tuned for that part. So I've washed and removed the labels from the jars, and I'm now applying some rubbing alcohol to a cotton pad to clean the exterior of them. This just removes any fingerprints or any leftover glue or anything like that. And if you see any, even little specks, now would be the time to remove them. I've cleaned all these jars here. So now that I have all the jars ready, it's time to mix the chalk paint. I'm using a glass jar to store it. I plan to use all of this or as much of this as possible, but in case any is left over, it's best to store it in a glass jar sealed tightly here. So this is half a cup of white acrylic paint. I have half a cup of baby powder. I have the link for some of these products in the description section below the video if you're interested in starting your decoupage journey. So you can check those out. So I'm gonna just add the powder to the jar here. Make sure you don't inhale the powder. Have good ventilation because it's not fun to inhale all of this. I'm gonna just give it a good stir here. Combine everything. And I'm using a regular spoon. Obviously, I'm going to wash it properly once I'm finished with it, but it tends to be on the thicker side, so you want to make sure you give it a really good stir. So this is a consistency. It's not really dripping or anything. And I have a whole video showing you how to do this, so check that out. I'll include the links for some of my other videos using chalk paint. Okay, so let's get started on the jars. So my goal is to do the bottoms of the jars first and let them dry, and then that way once I flip them over, I can do what I need to do as far as the rest of the jars. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the chalk paint here. I'm using a sponge applicator here, and I'm going to just grab a jar and get going. So we don't want to put too much on there. We can always layer if need be. So I'm going to just put a nice smooth layer on the bottom. And you just want to dab that on there like that. So I'm going to let that dry and get the rest of these done, and then we'll continue. Okay guys, so I've covered the bottoms of the jars, and I'm just going to put cover on the rest of the chalk paint, because the rest of it I'm going to use to cover the rest of the jars as soon as these dry. And I don't want this to dry out. So I've added a little bit of my black paint to the chalk paint. So the gray I'm matching is for this napkin. It's darker here on the bottom and lighter on the top and in between here. So I pick something that's in between. I can go a little bit darker if I need to, if I do a touch up, but I'll just stick with this. So I find it's easier to do the top part first because it has a lot of little crevices. That way it doesn't bother the bottom part there. And I'm putting it on a little bit thicker because of all these crevices. And now I'm just going to do the regular part, the midsection. All right, so next I'm going to try to match this beige. It's more on the yellowish side. I'm not sure if you can see that in this light, but it has a little tinge of yellow. So I had a little left over from the one I just did. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to this, just to give it that slightly yellow tinge, just a very small amount. I'm going to mix that. Okay, I think that should be good. Now we're going to just go ahead and dab them on. Okay guys, so I have to match the background for this one, this napkin that I'll be using. It's sort of like an off-white but more on the gray side. So that one is 4 jars. So I'm going to take a little bit of the chalk paint here and scoop it into this little plastic container. So I'm going to be doing 4 jars of this, so I want to make sure I have enough. Maybe that's a little bit too much. And cover it up so it stays as it should be. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of I'm trying to figure out which color would be good for this. Maybe a little brown, because it's not quite gray. Let's see if I can. I'm going to take one of my little tubes of acrylic paint here and then put a little tiny dab there, and hopefully that will be enough. Because it's just a hue, not really anything too crazy. So we're just going to mix that. That seems pretty close. I don't know if you can see that. The acrylic paints tend to dry a little bit darker, so I'm going to just stick with this. I'm going to take my Mod Podge, put a generous amount on the brush, and then just start brushing it here. let's start with that. And then I'm going to gently, just very gently tug on it and smooth it on. We're nearing the end of the production process here. I just varnished these. I tried to use up the materials that I have open. I had some varnish with a gloss finish left over and I used that up and I started a new bottle of that. Some of them I did the tops first and then I had to do the bottom and the rest vice versa. I tried to stay as organized as possible, doing them in phases as best I could. These over here are almost ready to go. They're already varnished and dried. I just need to add the finishing touch of the ribbons. So we're in the last stretch of the project. So now that everything is varnished and dried and ready, I'm going to finish by putting some kind of ribbon or string around the mouth of the jars just to finish them off. So for these, I'll be using this twine here. I think this would be considered the front of it. I don't suppose it matters, but I'm gonna just pick a spot on here and then I'm going to use my hot glue gun and just put a little dab there just to get it started. Just a quick dab. You have to be quick with the glue gun because it dries so fast. So then I'm going to just place this here, right on that spot. And that's definitely in place. And because it's fraying a little bit here, I'm going to just add a little bit more of the glue. There. Now I'm going to just start wrapping it tightly together because this twine is very thin, and as I go around I'm going to try to go up a little bit higher. I don't think I want to cover the whole mouth of this, but at least halfway up, and then I'll see how it looks from there. And I think I will try to end it somewhere here. What I'm gonna try to do is put a little bit of the glue on it one more time just to secure it. There. Looks good. So one down, 35 more to go. I won't be using that twine on every one of them, but I'm going to just at least get the 6 that are this style done first. So now I'm going to get started on this purplish one, lavender themed one, and I'm going to use this lavender colored ribbon here. It's a lighter lavender, but that's all I had. So a small amount to get started. And this one is not as forgiving as the twine, so I really want it to be very smooth. So I will put a few dabs of the glue, very small dab, just to keep it flat, tight and in place. I'm going to smooth that. because I plan to put only one layer of the ribbon there. I'm going to put a little bit more of the glue right here. So I'm trying to be very strategic about where I place it. And you have to be quick because this glue dries super fast. So I'm going to smooth that. Okay, so now I'm going to do this set here. I have 4 of these, and I'm going to use this nice bright violet ribbon. This is the last set, and I'm using the twine. Some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me high and dry. Okay, guys, I'm finished. I just wanted to show you a little bit what they look like finished. So nice. I'm really pleased with the way they turned out. You never really know unless you've done a particular design before if it's going to look just right. I'm happy they turned out the way they did. Here's another design, lavender themed. There's a smaller one. And this is another design. So cute. Here's another one. And my garden themed one. Here's another variation of that one. And we have some sunflower ones. This is a repeat of a design I did, one of my first decoupage projects. A little bit different, but more or less the same. And we have this one. And the last design I have is this one. Super, super cute. So there you have it, guys. Thank you for joining me for this process, and let me know if you do any decoupage of your own. Thanks for watching. Whip up my appetite.
You're some kind of butterfly.